Good evening, and welcome to Richmond Power and Light Board meeting for Monday, October 7th, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Doug Goss.
Here.
Lucinda Wright.
Present.
Bill Engel.
Here.
Larry Parker.
Here.
Ann Taylor. Gary Turner.
Here.
Jane Bumbelow.
Here.
Justin Burkhart.
Here.
Jerry Purcell.
Here.
8 are present.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of the minutes.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
move for approval of the minutes of September the 3rd as we received them.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have bills to be approved.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we have reviewed the bills and move for approval in the amount of $9,568,937.87.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bills of $9,568,937.87. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next, we have any unfinished business? All right, report by the general manager.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
So the first item on the agenda this evening is actually, instead of awarding a bid tonight, we're going to actually reject bids on a new 2024 or current model mid-size pickup truck for the engineering department as budgeted in the 2024 capital budget, or a full-size truck. So we did receive two bids. For a mid-size, it was $38,911. And for a full-size, the bid was $44,430. Problem is, between the time we opened bids and we're going to award bids tonight, we were notified by this vendor that Ford quit accepting orders for that particular model for the rest of the year.
Oh, wow.
The full-size truck would exceed our budget. So what we'd like to do is reject the bids, and we'll place this back in the budget for 2025. And if you approve, we'll be back to see you on this topic next year.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to reject the bids. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. All right. Second item on the agenda is another item talking about next year. So what we have next on the agenda is a request to receive bids on two new transformers as previously budgeted for the 2025 capital budget for the Richmond substation. So you may be asking, well, why are we dealing with 2025 when it's 2024? Well, there is a sense of urgency to get these on order. They do take about 3 years to get in, and the bid process takes longer than the typical 30 days that we usually give our vendors. We're expecting at least 60 days for these vendors to get back with us. So we're asking to go ahead and start the process to get the bid specs submitted to some vendors. Our plan would be to come back to you in December and open bids if those vendors are able to reply in that amount of time. If not, it'll be January with a February award. If we are able to get bids opened in December, we would still not be back for an award until January of 2025. So we would be revisiting this during our budget process coming up actually next month. But at this point, we're not out anything by soliciting the bids, and we would like to get a jump start on this because of the extreme timelines associated with these components.
Understandable.
Chairperson?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion based on Tony's recommendation to move bidding these two transformers forward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We appreciate that very much. The next item is outside our budget, so we are requesting tonight that we have permission to purchase a backup transformer from AEP as a sole source purchase. We do have a failure in our system right now. We do need a backup transformer. We were able to locate a unit that will, again, serve as a backup for us. It is located in Texas. AEP would bring this to us and actually install it at our substation for us. We do have reserve accounts for emergencies such as these. So I am requesting tonight permission to purchase a backup transformer from AEP as a sole source purchase in the amount not to exceed $985,000.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a motion and a second to purchase a backup transformer from AEP. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you for all your hard work.
And I know you've had a long night, but I'll keep this short. We would like to just say a big thank you to our crews that worked a couple of weekends ago when the remnants of Hurricane Helene came through Richmond. The strong winds just wreaked havoc on some of the trees in the community. We have we're lucky to have such a great workforce. These guys just, every single person that was called came in and worked. We didn't have anybody that refused to come in and work that weekend. They worked long hours, hard work, and it did take a while to get power restored, but looking at some of the damage, you can understand why. In addition to our crews working incredibly hard, we have a great community. For example, today, big thank you goes out to the Leaning Lily. They sponsored a taco bar lunch for the RP&L employees today as a thank you for their work during the restoration efforts.
Awesome.
Girls Inc. provided pizza to the crews the evening of Sunday, September 29th. Bismarck Donuts gave us a nice discount when I took them donuts the morning of September 28th. And in addition, numerous reports that our customers, our residents out there offered our guys coffee and food when they were working throughout the weekend. So we got a great community, and we can't thank everyone enough for their patience during this storm cleanup. But speaking of storms, when we have an outage, what do we know? We get that a lot. So how do you know what's going on? I thought I'd give you a brief summary tonight, and hopefully some folks are watching at home as well, to give an explanation of what we see and what we know when we do have a storm like this, or just a general small outage, our typical squirrels and tree branches that we do encounter. So the first thing we get push notifications to our phones that give us an indication of any type of breaker activity. So we've talked about circuit breakers earlier this year. Our circuit breakers are just like yours at home. When they open up, power goes out. What we do, we get a notification when those breakers operate. So one of the first things we do, we get a notification to our phone that there was a breaker that operated. From there, we also get emails. These emails come from our meter system. And what they do, they give us a lot of information, but the first thing we glance at, I know that's really small, but up in that left corner, it tells us how many outages we have. In this case, this was during the storm. At that point, we were down to 2,449. That negative 13 next to it means that 13 customers just lost power. So when we get a plus, that means people getting back on. So when we open that email, we see a lot. In this case, this was storm-related. There's a long list, and that long list are the circuits that have outages on them. Here's a little bit of a better close-up. So the Johnson Street circuit, number 45, had 424 customers out. So that gives us an idea, okay, we know which circuit that is and where we need to go to start riding out that circuit to start the restoration process. We also see an outage map. Because of our AMI meter system being almost completely fully deployed now, as soon as someone loses power, we see that immediately on an outage map. So who gets all of these notifications? Our system operator. That's Steve and Caleb in the SCADA room. That's our room that has all the monitors and the lights on the wall. Our line superintendent and assistant line superintendent, line foreman, general manager, assistant general manager, chief engineer, we all get these notifications that I just mentioned. We also hear from a call center. So If it's after hours, we do have a call center. It is based in Bloomington, Indiana. So they will grab the call, and they know first thing to do, especially in tonight, if we had a squirrel call or a raccoon cause a problem, when they get that first call, they call our trouble man. It's the lineman that we have on call 24/7. If they start getting more calls than just a handful, then they'll go ahead and call in the foreman that's on duty, and then we would start calling in our folks from there. Also, we hear from the customer. Obviously, we get again those phone calls, but there are several ways on how to report an outage. And in a situation like this, I'll explain that this next method is probably the preferred way for us to get information. So I'm always talking about Smart Hub, our mobile app. But Smart Hub, you can do a lot of things, monitor your usage, pay your bill, but you can also report an outage. So when you open up Smart Hub, the first thing you're going to see is this home screen. At the top it says report an outage or an issue. So this is where you can report an outage, a street light out, things like that. So you click on it, you get power outage, and then it gives your information. The easiest thing to do, it says send my current location. You can click that and we'll get an email, and it goes directly to several of us, but most importantly, it goes to the operations room, so they know that your location is out of power. You can also click outage description, and it will give you another drop-down menu, and you can give us more information, like heard a loud bang, line down, tree on line, fire, auto wreck, partial power, flood, other. Just gives us an idea of what we're looking for. So more than welcome to do that as well. Also, on that same home screen, if you go back home, it says mobile outage map. Again, I used this illustration earlier. SCADA's map is different. It's more detailed, but this is the public-facing map. So if your neighborhood is in one of those purple dots, it's very, very, very likely we know that you don't have power. And the red dot, the orange dot, that just show that there's just a conglomeration of outages in that area. Maybe there's an apartment building or something like that. So the bigger the circle, the more we know. So this is a snapshot from the evening of the 27th or the 28th. But you can also see this yourselves. Now, these purple circles do not indicate, you can't scroll in and see a house. For safety purposes, these are just generalizations because we don't want someone knowing that, oh, they don't have power, we can go do things that we shouldn't. But it gives you a general idea of the neighborhoods that don't have power. And this, again, this is public facing. So if you do have an outage, you can go in and look, and it's like, yep, looks like RP&L knows we have an outage. Of course, you can go to our website. Right on the front, you can report an outage. It's one of the first buttons. You can go to outage section here, and it gives you different options as well. And you can go, and you can also see a map. And then there's the tried and true method of giving us a call. It's at 765-973-7200.
I just posted your personal cell online.
Oh,
What is that?
so calling works most of the time, but I want to show you an illustration. This is the hours that followed, or actually the beginning of the storm. So starting at 5 p.m., you could see our tremendous spike in phone calls. We went from about 172 calls immediately up to almost 1,200 calls, down to about 1,000 calls. Trickled off over the overnight hours, but that ebbed and flowed over the course of the weekend. We can't answer 1,200 calls all at once. So sometimes the other methods of reporting an outage are effective, and we do reply to those emails as we get them throughout the weekend. We do know we had some frustrations that people couldn't get through, especially during the early time of this storm, but that's a lot of phone calls all at once. So we don't have 1,000 people sitting by phones. So, but we do apologize. We know that's frustrating, but that's why I went through these other methods to get your information across. And let the public know that we do know immediately when there is a power outage due to the technology that we do have. And we also post updates to Facebook, so if you don't follow us on Facebook, please follow Richmond Power and Light on Facebook. And throughout the outage, Mary Stevens does a great job of keeping folks up to date as to what's going on to the extent possible. If we do know, hey, during certain types of outages, it's going to be a few hours, we're going to post to that and let people know that. If we cannot give a restoration time, we are not going to give you an estimated time, especially during the early stages of this storm. What we do is we know how many people are out, we know which circuits are out. First thing we do is go out and assess the damage to figure out how bad it is, and then start assessing how many folks can we get back on the quickest. So if we can get 200 people on by doing an hour's worth of work, we're going to do that versus, I hate to say it, 5 people on versus an hour's worth of work. We're going to get the big groups and work our way in. Has no bearing on location. It's more honest to goodness sheer numbers. How can we get the most on in the quickest amount of time? And these are the good folks at RP&L that worked this past weekend, so got to give them a shout out. They did really, really good.
Very good.
And I was bragging on our customers just a little bit ago, and this week is the APPA's Customer Appreciation Week. We do have some swag at the 8th Street office pictured here. One of those is the favorite customer of the customer service office, and I bet you can guess which one it is. His name is Mike, and he's the one with 4 legs there. He comes in every day, and the ladies down at the 8th Street office give Mike a treat, and Mike's owner's name is Jared. But we appreciate our customers, and encourage you, if you are out and about, stop by and get your swag. I did actually bring your swag for you tonight. I've got it over here in the bag. So, and last thing tonight, this is just interesting stuff. Customer trends, since we're talking about customers. Since 2021, we've been tracking some of the ways our customers do interact with us. We have seen the number of customers that get their bills electronically go up by 43%. Those that are using auto pay has increased by 56%. People using our mobile app, now that we have one, has gone up from the initial onset from about $2,200 a month to $3,156, so about 43% increase there. The Smart Hub website is up, and then mailed bills is slowly going down. And the reason I like to focus in on that, every bill that we send costs the company about 78 cents between postage, printing, the envelope cost, and things like that. So that small decrease there in mailed bills saves the company about $9,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
And that money, when RP&L saves money, that is reflected in our rates. The more we save, the more savings are passed along to our ratepayers.
Very good.
So I always like to plug, if you are willing to go to an e-bill, we appreciate that. That does save us 78 cents per bill per month. Speaking of saving money, coming up soon, Tuesday, November 12th, we do have our special meeting to go over our budget. We'll start at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. And I know I ran through a lot of information real quick without stopping, so I'd entertain any questions that you have.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes, sir.
Tony, please share our gratitude with
Yes.
Oh,
the
absolutely.
entire staff of
Oh,
RP&L.
yes.
We'll do that for sure.
Yeah.
And lastly, I don't know if you noticed, but our flags were very tattered because of the storm. And even though they had a lot of cleanup work to do last week, our crews went out and got all of our flags replaced on the bridges and throughout town.
That's awesome.
So,
Thank you.
big thank you
Thank
for
you.
getting
That
it
respect.
done.
Thank
Sorry it
you,
took
and
us a few
thank
days to
them.
get to it, but we were still doing some cleanup work. But
Very good.
we appreciate them doing that as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes, sir.
I would just like to tell Tony that your leadership style is why you have great crews. And the communications with us and the way you keep us up to date is absolutely amazing, and I appreciate it.
Well,
Yeah.
they do the hard work. They just make me look good. So.
Yeah.
It's all them.
Well,
Because of
you
leadership.
you lead with humility. and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We got good folks. So.
Yep. All right.
That's all I had for tonight.
Okay, so we have any new business we need to talk about?
Move
If
for
not,
adjournment.
there you go. Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.